What are the most valuable lessons you've learned from starting your own business? When I first started my business, I thought success would come fast, but the reality hit hard. The biggest lesson I've learned is that patience is key. Success doesn't happen overnight. I had to learn to embrace failure because it taught me more than success ever could. Every setback, whether it was a failed product launch or a lost client, gave me invaluable experience. Another big lesson was the importance of networking. You can't do everything alone, and sometimes having the right people in your corner can make all the difference. The weirdest lesson I learned was the value of saying no. Not just to bad deals, but even to good ones if they didn't align with my goals. Early on, I agreed to a partnership with a big company, thinking it would elevate my business. Instead, it drowned us in paperwork and left me chasing their deadlines instead of growing my vision. When I finally said no, I freed up time to focus on my own strategies, and ironically, that's when I started getting better offers from others. Starting my business taught me that resilience is everything. When I launched my first venture, I underestimated how much rejection and failure I'd face. Early on, I pitched my idea to over 20 investors and got turned down by nearly all of them. It was crushing, but I learned that perseverance isn't just a buzzword, it's a survival skill. I refined my pitch, adjusted my business model, and eventually secured funding. Another key lesson: surround yourself with people smarter than you. My first hire was an experienced operations manager who turned my chaotic processes into a well-oiled machine. Finally, I realized that every no gets you closer to the right yes. Failure isn't the end, it's feedback. My most surprising business lesson came from selling plants online. I used to think I needed to have a perfectly curated product line to succeed, but I learned that people love a story. I started sharing pictures of my failed gardening experiments and funny anecdotes about plant disasters. To my shock, these posts went viral and sales skyrocketed. The takeaway? Be authentic. People don't just buy products, they buy into personalities and stories, so don't be afraid to show your human side. One lesson I wish I had known earlier is how much mindset matters. Starting a business is mentally and emotionally taxing, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the pressure. But learning to prioritize my mental health and stay positive made all the difference. I also learned how crucial it is to focus on cash flow. Having a great product or idea doesn't mean much if you can't manage money well. It's not just about making sales, it's about managing expenses, reinvesting in your business, and ensuring your operations run smoothly. One of the funniest lessons I learned was about how far customer service can go. A client once asked if we could personalize their product in a very unconventional way, engraving a weird inside joke. At first, I thought, no way, but we did it just for fun. That customer ended up recommending us to an entire online community with similar quirky tastes. Now, custom orders like that are our biggest revenue stream. Never underestimate the power of saying yes to unusual requests. One of the most valuable lessons I learned is the importance of financial literacy. When I started my first business, I was so focused on the big picture that I ignored the day-to-day numbers. I didn't track cash flow properly and ended up overspending on unnecessary tools. After almost going broke, I committed to understanding my finances. Now I use simple budgeting software and I carefully review my numbers every week. Also, I learned that customer feedback is a goldmine. I used to take criticism personally, but over time I realized it was free advice. Listening to my customers helped me tweak my offerings, and my sales doubled within a year. The lesson that sticks with me the most is to never let fear of competition stop you. When I started my business, the market was already crowded, and I almost gave up before I even began. But I realized that there's room for everyone if you offer something unique. I focused on my niche, high-quality handmade products, and found an audience who appreciated the craftsmanship. Another hard-earned lesson was learning to say no. In the beginning, I took every project that came my way, even if it wasn't aligned with my brand or values. Saying no felt scary, but it allowed me to focus on what truly mattered and grow faster. The biggest lesson? Execution beats ideas every single time. When I started, I had this mentality that my idea needed to be perfect before launching. I wasted months overthinking instead of building. A mentor finally told me, launch now, perfect later, and that advice changed everything. I learned that starting messy is better than not starting at all. Another key takeaway is understanding that networking isn't just about business cards or LinkedIn connections. It's about genuine relationships. Some of my best opportunities came from casual conversations at local events or helping someone with no expectations in return. Lastly, I learned to embrace discomfort. Growth happens when you're uncomfortable, whether it's negotiating a big deal or learning a skill you've never tried before. The wildest lesson I learned came from a competition. I started a business selling handmade candles, and my main competitor was crushing me with their branding. I decided to partner with them on a seasonal project. It felt like helping the enemy, but it turned out to be genius. We created a unique limited edition product, shared profits, and cross-promoted. Both our businesses boomed after the collaboration. Sometimes your rival can be your best ally if you find ways to collaborate rather than compete. I learned the hard way that you should always double-check your website's domain name. When I launched my online store, I was in a rush and didn't notice that my chosen domain, when written as one word, unintentionally formed a very inappropriate phrase. I didn't catch on until I got messages laughing at it. Surprisingly, the mistake brought a lot of traffic, and I leaned into the humor, turning the incident into a marketing opportunity. Moral of the story: triple-check everything, or turn mishaps into wins. Starting a business taught me the importance of adaptability. What worked last year might not work this year. I had to learn how to pivot quickly when things weren't going as planned, whether it was adjusting my product, my marketing strategies, or my business model. I also learned that your customers are your best teachers. Listening to feedback from them, even the negative feedback, is crucial in shaping your business into something people truly want and need. In the end, it's not about what you want to sell. It's about what your customers want to buy. The most valuable lesson I learned was how important it is to build a strong team. I can't stress enough how much my business relied on the right people, from employees to contractors. At first, I tried to do everything myself, but it wasn't sustainable. I quickly learned that delegating and trusting others was essential for growth. And then there's marketing. It doesn't matter how great your product is if people don't know about it. I realized that consistent and creative marketing was the backbone of our success, and building a strong brand identity was a game changer. The biggest lesson I learned was about perseverance. There were many moments when I wanted to quit, whether it was from a failed campaign or losing key clients. But what got me through those moments was my why, the reason I started in the first place. That constant drive kept me moving forward when everything else seemed uncertain. Another lesson was learning to embrace calculated risks. No business is without risk, but being able to analyze situations and take calculated risks is often what separates successful entrepreneurs from those who don't make it. One thing I've learned is to be adaptable. I started a retail business in 2019, just before the pandemic hit. Almost overnight, foot traffic disappeared, and I had to pivot to an e-commerce model. That shift was terrifying, but it taught me how crucial it is to stay flexible and embrace change. Another lesson was realizing that not everyone will understand your vision, and that's okay. Early on, friends and family doubted my idea, but staying confident and focused proved them wrong. Lastly, self-care is underrated. I burned out within my first year by working non-stop, thinking that's what it took to succeed. Now I schedule downtime, and I'm actually more productive. I learned that sometimes breaking the rules carefully can be a game changer. I started a food truck business, and city regulations made it nearly impossible to park in high-traffic areas. One day, I just decided to park in a busy lot without a permit, expecting to be fined. Instead, people loved my food so much that the business owners nearby petitioned to let me stay. The city eventually granted me a special license. Lesson learned? Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content. Also, feel free to share your own business lessons in the comments below, or ask any questions you'd like answered in future videos.